66 million years ago, a rock the size of a small city fell from space and ended the world. We know what came before, creatures of impossible scale, ruling every landmass on Earth for over 150 million years. And we know the story we've always told ourselves about what came after, that the asteroid drew a hard line through time, that the great animals perished, and that something smaller and softer inherited what was left. But that story is incomplete, because what evolution actually did to the dinosaurs wasn't destruction, it was compression. It folded them down, shrinking bones, extending feathers, hollowing out skulls, until they were light enough to lift off the ground. It turned predators into songbirds. It gave the most fearsome lineage in Earth's history a new survival strategy: smallness, speed, and flight. Most of them took the deal, but deep in the papyrus swamps of East Africa, one did not. Chapter 1. Something that shouldn't still exist. The first thing you notice is the stillness, not the ordinary stillness of a resting animal. Something older than that, the kind of stillness that belongs to stone or to deep water or to the space between heartbeats. You are standing in the Bangwulu wetlands of Zambia, 1,000 square miles of flooded grassland, papyrus thicket, and black tea-colored water. The air is thick, the reeds press in from every side. And then, perhaps 15 feet in front of you, you realize the grey mass you mistook for a termite mound is breathing. Balaeniceps rex, the Shoebill Stork. It stands nearly 5 feet tall, and it is looking directly at you with eyes the color of pale gold. Its head, disproportionately, almost comically massive, supports a beak unlike anything else alive, almost a foot long, 5 inches wide, the texture of weathered hardwood, the color of old bone. At its tip, a downward curving hook, reinforced and razor-edged, designed by 50 million years of natural selection to pierce, grip, and hold. It does not move. It does not flinch. It simply watches. Ornithologists who have spent careers studying wading birds describe the experience of encountering a shoebill as uniquely unsettling, not because the bird is aggressive, but because it looks at you with an intelligence that doesn't feel entirely avian. There is something archaic in that gaze, something that remembers a world that no longer exists. The shoebill is not a living fossil in the lazy sense. It has been evolving continuously, like everything else. But its body plan, its hunting strategy, and its relationship to its environment suggest a creature that found a solution so efficient that change became unnecessary. It is an argument against the idea that evolution is always progress. Sometimes perfection is simply waiting long enough for everything else to go wrong. Chapter 2. The Art of Waiting. The swamps that the shoebill calls home are not simply unpleasant. They are actively hostile to large predators. The water in the Sud, the vast wetland along the White Nile in South Sudan, is slow, warm, and nearly starved of oxygen. It is dense with organic matter, choked by aquatic vegetation, and threaded with deep channels of soft, clinging mud that can swallow a boot or a leg, or something larger with little effort. Any predator that hunts here through pursuit is burning energy it cannot afford to replace. Sound carries strangely through the reeds. Visibility is measured in feet. The shoebill did not evolve despite these conditions. It evolved because of them. Its hunting technique is called collapsing, a name that captures its sudden, violent conclusion, but misses the extraordinary discipline that precedes it. The bird wades into position, plants its enormous feet in the mud, and stops. Not pauses, stops. For periods that observers have measured at over an hour, it will remain completely motionless, neck retracted, beak angled toward the water, every muscle held in a suspension that looks effortless and almost certainly is not. What it is waiting for is the marbled lungfish. The lungfish is itself a relic. a creature whose lineage predates the dinosaurs, a living bridge between fish and the first land animals. It possesses actual lungs, and in the oxygen-starved waters of the East African swamps, it must surface periodically to breathe. It has no choice. It breaks the surface, gulps air, and in that moment of biological necessity, it becomes visible. The shoebill's response is not a peck. It is a controlled collapse of its entire body weight onto the target. Beak first, hook engaged, the force of 5 feet of bird concentrated into a single point of impact. The strike takes fractions of a second. The fish rarely survives the initial contact. What elevates the shoebill beyond most ambush predators is the breadth of what it is willing to attempt. Monitor lizards, water snakes of considerable size, and most remarkably, juvenile Nile crocodiles, animals that, in adulthood, will be among the most dangerous predators on the continent. The shoebill takes them young, decapitates them with a lateral shear of its mandibles, and swallows them with the calm efficiency of something that has never doubted its place in the food chain. Chapter 3. The sound of a ghost speaking. Most birds are acoustic creatures. Their vocal anatomy, a structure called the syrinx, unique to birds and with no equivalent in any other animal, allows them to produce sounds of extraordinary complexity and range. Birdsong is, in many ways, the auditory signature of the entire avian world. Layered, melodic, communicative. The shoebill has no complex syrinx. It cannot sing. For the majority of its life, it produces no sound at all. It moves through its territory in complete silence. And the silence is one of the reasons it is so rarely encountered in the wild, despite being nearly 5 feet tall. Guides who lead eco-tourists into shoebill habitat speak of finding one 15 feet away, having heard nothing, having felt no warning of its presence. It is simply there, watching, as if it has been watching for some time. When the shoebill does communicate during the charged encounters of mating season, or when a territorial boundary is being tested, it produces what researchers formally describe as bill clattering. The bird lowers its great head toward its chest and begins to snap its mandibles together rapidly and with force. The beak is large and partially hollow. It acts as a resonating chamber. The result is a sound that has no analog in the natural world. It is percussive, mechanical, and carries across the swamp with unsettling clarity. Those who have heard it in the field often reach for the same comparison before catching themselves. It sounds, with remarkable precision, like automatic gunfire. It is the sound of a creature that has never needed to be melodic. It communicates one thing, simply and without ambiguity. I am here. This is mine. Chapter 4. The mathematics of survival. The shoebill lays 2 eggs. This is not, as it might appear, generosity. It is arithmetic. The swamp is too demanding, food too unpredictable, and parental energy too finite to raise 2 offspring to independence. The second egg exists not as a second chance at family, but as a contingency, a backup copy, in case the first fails. If both eggs hatch healthy, biology has a method for resolving the surplus. The first chick has a developmental head start. It hatches a few days earlier, and those days compound into a size and strength advantage that, in the close confines of the nest, becomes decisive. When the parents are absent hunting, the older chick attacks its sibling. The behavior is consistent, targeted, and unambiguous in its intent. When the parents return with food, the younger chick, weakened, injured, and calling, is not ignored through obliviousness. It is ignored through choice. The parent steps over it. The older chick feeds. There is a temptation to read this as cruelty. It is not. Cruelty requires intent. What the shoebill enacts is closer to triage, a cold evolutionary sorting of resources toward the individual most likely to survive and reproduce. The swamp does not reward sentiment. Every calorie spent on a chick that will not make it is a calorie that didn't go toward one that will. The logic is impeccable. It is also very hard to watch. Chapter 5. The last of something. There are between 5,000 and 8,000 shoebill storks alive today. Not in decline in some abstract sense, actually concretely countably few. The wetlands that sustain them are being drained for agriculture. The papyrus is being cleared. The lungfish populations that anchor the food chain are under pressure from the same expanding human presence that is compressing the swamps from every side. The shoebill's qualities, its solitude, its enormous territorial requirements, its complete intolerance for disturbance, made it a supreme predator in a world of impenetrable marsh. Those same qualities make it acutely vulnerable in a world that is running out of impenetrable marsh. It is not being outcompeted. It is not being outfought. It is being quietly dispossessed, one drained wetland at a time. What the shoebill represents, biologically, ecologically, philosophically, is the persistence of old solution. It is proof that the ancient world did not end cleanly, that deep time has left its designs scattered across the present, and that some of the most extraordinary things alive are the ones that simply refuse to become something else. Stand at the edge of the Banguelu marshes in the blue hour before sunrise, when the mist is sitting low on the water and the reeds are perfectly still, and you might find one. It will be standing in the shallows, motionless, watching the surface. It will not move when it sees you. It will simply look back at you across an unimaginable distance of time. It has been waiting here, in one form or another, for longer than our species has existed. It will keep waiting for as long as there is water left to stand in. The age of monsters never ended. We just stopped looking.